All right, week 9 college football breakdown here. Really good battle in the Big 12 in a pick'em type game. Oklahoma State 6-1, coming off that big win against Texas, traveling to Kansas State. Just picked up their first loss in conference play last week at TCU. I said it. This is a pick'em type game. Kansas State right now is a 1-point favorite. I think Oklahoma State opened up as a slight favorite. Doesn't really matter in these kind of games. You're just basically picking the winner, and a dead standard total at 56.5. Now, we got a lot to get to as far from an injury perspective. Oklahoma State, they were without 5 key contributors in that Texas game last week. They obviously won despite it, but had a few extra guys go down in that game. We already know Spencer Sanders is extremely beat up at this point. So Oklahoma State is really kind of limping into Manhattan this week. It's their second road game in 3 weeks, maybe somewhat of a letdown spot after beating Texas. This is not the best spot, at least on paper, for Oklahoma State. Now, Kansas State's got injury issues of their own. Adrian Martinez, their starting quarterback, left last week's game, didn't return. I'm making this play with the expectation that he doesn't play. So that being said, I am going to be on Kansas State here. I just took him on the money line at -120. I don't really mind paying 10 extra cents just to avoid any of those shenanigans that might come late in the game. And we have had that happen this year. But there are matchup advantages across the board for Kansas State. I think they're slightly better in the trenches, specifically their defensive line, going up against that Oklahoma State O-line. You know, Kansas State's pass rush has really started to get going here in Big 12 play. We've seen Oklahoma State kind of regress in protecting Sanders. 7 sacks over the last 3 weeks. It's not horrible. It doesn't really provide a lot of confidence now stepping up on the road against a pretty physical front. A huge mismatch in this game is the rushing attacks. Deuce Vaughn is most explosive backs in college football, over 5.5 yards per carry this year. What does Oklahoma State have? I mean, Dominic Richardson is under 4 yards a carry. Mike Gundy has some younger, guys in that running back room that are far more explosive, and we've seen it week after week, yet he refuses to give some of those younger guys carries. I've listened to his press conferences. He talks a lot about, not playing freshmen too much early. That's going to come back to bite him. Dominic Richardson is a mediocre football player at best. So Kansas State's going to have the far easier time establishing the run here. But one other thing I'll say about Oklahoma State, they are extremely lucky to be 6-1 at this point. I'm going to tell you, in 4 Big 12 games, they've been outgained in 3 of those 4 games by an average of over 70 yards a game. Baylor had 2 fourth-quarter turnovers in a tight game. Oklahoma State wins. Give Oklahoma State credit. Texas Tech handed Oklahoma State great field position because they go for 4th down every time. I mean, Texas Tech outgained Oklahoma State by almost 100 yards and lost that game by 10. Those two things don't correlate. Kansas State's a team that's not going to beat themselves in the way that some of Oklahoma State's opponents have. People are going to think that this is a big quarterback mismatch with Will Howard going up against Spencer Sanders. Spencer Sanders has not thrown for over 7 yards per attempt against a Big 12 opponent this year. Combined with their lack of explosiveness in the run game, I'm just not very high on this Oklahoma State offense. I think Sanders is tough as nails. He's good with his feet, and you have to give him that. I mean, I'm a Texas fan. I saw this last week. He's a tough guy. He's playing hurt right now. He is not a very good downfield thrower. Will Howard for Kansas State struggled here over the past few years, but 3rd year in the program, we saw him come in last week and really look pretty good for Kansas State. Over 11 yards per attempt. He's got some really experienced wide receivers on the outside that I think can work with him pretty well in this matchup, especially considering Oklahoma State secondary is the weakness of that defense. And, Quinn Ewers for Texas had a historically bad day against Oklahoma State, was sailing the ball 10 yards over guys' head all day. If Will Howard can just hit some of those open receivers, combined with what they're going to get in the run game, I think Kansas State can have a pretty good day offensively in this one. Safe to say, I am on the Wildcats in this game. I don't care who's going to play quarterback. If it's Martinez, that's an added bonus. With all the other matchup advantages across the board, this line should be more like 3.5 in my opinion. So do see some value on Kansas State in this pick'em type spot at home. No real feel on the total. Oklahoma State is a very fast-paced team. Against Texas last week, both of those teams had 18 possessions. I mean, that's crazy. But while I might not expect a lot of offensive efficiency per se in this one, just the pace, I do think warrants a total in the mid-50s, so don't really want to look at it from that angle. Official one-unit play, Kansas State money line, -120. You see this shirt, Halloween's coming up. We got the Halloween theme. Head over to proud90.com. Unique but very comfortable polos as well. With the colder weather coming, also got a great selection of hoodies and quarter zips. Proud 90 has got all your golf apparel needs. If you see anything you like at proud90.com, use code Fordham at checkout. It's going to get you 15% off your entire order. Code Fordham at checkout is going to get you 15% off your order. Support me, support Proud 90. The rest of the information will be in the description below.